And but yeah, and then also when I was just trying to show friends the game that I was working on, it was really like I needed really to properly specify the game's properties, and that actually I quite succeeded, because I had like a really written out one pager where I just like explained pretty fast to everyone like what kind of game I would like to do. Then also the right scope and the scale of the project, that was also a success, because the game wasn't that big that it wouldn't be possible to make it in a small team. And but what we failed in was like the really specify the potential for financial success. Yeah, okay, you could base the defense on that. We didn't have much visibility, so maybe then it would be like a financial success. But yeah, you can judge only on data that you have. So we failed in this. What we succeeded in was the decision to make the art modular and grid based. And this way it was really more effective to work with, and it was easier to make tools for example, the editor, for the basic layout of the level, etc. Also, the gadget-based RPG system, like I was having this idea during the prototyping phase where I thought like, let's not use like the traditional skill character system in the RPGs, and basically let's do a like the player has an exoskeleton on him and has gadgets like items that he collects as gadgets and mounts on the suit and uses them as skills. For example, like shooting fireballs, making some acid squares in the level to defend and damage the enemies. And yeah, it was interesting enough, and it was well received in the community. Yeah, so what we failed in, probably it was the steampunk setting, because yeah, it's there's a bias, because you only hear people who disagree with you, right? So people who agree with you, they don't really make any noise. But we had a lot of feedback that I don't really like steampunk. You should make this fantasy, and that would work better. And then I would buy the game, blah blah blah. So, but it depends. And what was not really a good decision to make it single character, because the audience really likes to create the party that they play with in these dungeon games, and they really like to tweak each character by themselves. And yeah, with a single character, it was not really good. But why we did this was we were able to root the character into the story, because if you have a party of 4 characters, and you want to build up a story, and all of the characters are customizable, and that doesn't work really well. There would be some kind of disconnect, which we didn't want to do. And also a fail was in basing our idea about the current market by the success of Legend of Grimrock 1 and 2. Legend of Grimrock was the game that a Finnish studio, Almost Human, created, and it revived this genre, and it got a lot of visibility during the start of the indie era, right? That then went into indie apocalypse, where a lot of games were there, and none of them were visible. And so yeah, that was a mistake to think that if they got so much attention, then we are able to get it too, and that didn't work that way. So the lesson here is think thoroughly about the USP of the game as the first thing, right? Before you start even start like developing the game, you should really think about what, if you want to sell it, right? Like what will be the unique selling point of the game. Then be sure you understand what your audience really wants. Like what's the audience of this game, and how can I cater to their expectations and wants. Don't expect the market to stay the same until you finish the game, right? So imagine you are developing the game for 2 years. In 2 years, a lot of stuff can change, and you have to be ready. And if you don't act accordingly to the market, then you will get wrecked. So we started to form the team. Matej, my year-long friend, who I met in training of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Basically, a lot of people I know and who are also game developers are somehow involved in combat sports. I don't know why. But yeah, we were year-long friends, and we spent a lot of time when we went back home from the trainings. We talked about, he was working in a AAA company, and he knew what he doesn't like in there and what they are do, what kind of mistakes, and we started creating like a relationship of ideas and how we would envision having a company and leading a company. And yeah, so I basically found someone who was as motivated as I was, and also it was good that Maciej was a programmer and I was much more a designer, architect, and artist. So it fit well. And then, like, what we succeeded in was that I had a lot of friends from my work in the company before, and really good relationships with people who were willing to help me out with the first prototype. And one friend helped me with the basic movement code, the other one with the AI, etc. Then we formed the Fatbot Studio. It was at that time, now we're Fatbot Games, but it was me and Maciej. Yeah, we both of us, we had chip titles, right? So we knew the whole process from like starting the game and finishing it in the end. And we had good work ethic, motivation, and like years of friendship. So it was much easier to openly communicate, because it's really important, obviously. We had good working environment, because it started in a way that Maciej, we got into talking before he even knew that I'm working on a game. I had one spare bedroom in my flat, and he was looking for some room to stay in, and he moved in. And then I was tinkering with my game, and then he looked at it and like, oh man, I really like the art, I really like the atmosphere, I would like to help you with this. And we started like working, and then I told him like, do you want to be a partner in this? And he said yeah. So yeah, that was that. And it was really great to work in one indie flat, so to say, like a garage or something, where every day we got progress. Like every day we've seen like what's new and what the other one is working on, and it was like a motivation perpetuum mobile, something like that. And it ended up with a working prototype, and it was representing the creative goal of the game. So what we felt in, like, we had no experience in PR at all, like none, and neither had we like a guy. What I would suggest for starting indie teams, like right at the beginning, you should have someone that is experienced with Twitter, with social media, with all of the Steam events, etc. So someone should be in the team right from the start and be involved with this. Then also we felt in the need to supplement various parts of the project with externals. Like I said, I had a lot of friends helping me with some stuff like AI, concept art, etc. And then the lesson is, get a PR guy in your team ASAP, obviously, and get the basic understanding about how the business works. Stop being romantic and do your research. Like, this is really important, because a lot of the indies that I talk to now, because I'm involved with a couple of educational programs for starting developers, like a lot of the guys are really naive. They are really like, I mean, I was there too, but I mean, now there's a lot of information that you can get and change your idea of the stuff, and that wasn't in the time when we started. Then you should know the right people, obviously. Networking is great. It's really hard for me. Maybe I don't seem that way. I'm a strongly introverted person, and I really don't like interacting with strangers. But I had to change. This was really a changing experience for me, because I went to GDC, Gamescom, and other conferences, and I was pitching the games to publishers, and but yeah, it works. Cold showers help. So yeah, and read books. Like, this is really important. You should really strive for getting knowledge from other people who were in the same situation or similar situation as you were, or maybe just like in the mindset, not really game developers, but people have been experiencing similar situations as you are, and they wrote about it. So the investor hunt, the obstacles and challenges, obviously survival, financial survival during the full-time search. It was really a challenge, but we did a couple of gigs. We created some visualization software help tools and stuff like that. But neither of us has ever done business development, so we had to like learn all the stuff, how to write the pitch deck, how to create an elevator pitch, like promo art, etc. Yeah, as I've said, like getting out of the shell, it was really hard. Maciej, he's much more introverted than I am, so that's why, and he's a programmer, so obviously for an artist it's easier to get out and talk to people and self-promote, or so to say. And we didn't know how to negotiate. That was really fun. Like, imagine you are talking to an investor and he asks you like, okay, what kind of a share can you give me? And you're like, I'm not sure. Like, you have to have like a reaction for questions. You really have to be prepared and strategically think in advance. What we succeeded in was we owned the resources to survive during this time. So we had some savings, and also we did some work on the side. I worked on some assets for Mafia 3, and Maciej did some testing and coding for different game companies. And what we did well was well-prepared documentation, because as we've read a lot of stuff, how to do the stuff, then we also practiced the things and created documentations that we were ready. And we had a prototype build, obviously, and we had a prepared budget. This is really important, to have something playable and some kind of rationale about how much will it cost. And yeah, there's a story about meeting Richard and Otto, who are our investors, who co-founded the company with us, but maybe when we have time. What we felt in was the game was very niche genre, so it was really hard to sell. We afterwards had like the stubborn will to stay indie. We didn't want a publisher, so we were just looking for funding. And the amount of time it took to actually found the company, it was like we got a publisher, the investor in January, and in August the company was founded officially in August. So it was like a long time, but basically the lawyer who had been assigned with the founding and everything, then he had an accident, he was in a coma, so it was really like not someone's fault, or so to say. And yeah, we were not looking for funding opportunities, different funding opportunities. Yeah, think about your living expenses and the situation properly. Find something that resonates with the broad audience and put some USPs in it, and make a prototype ASAP. Don't be naive. Talk with publishers, because talking is free. And look into funding possibilities, like different funding possibilities. They are there. Make some noise, get some PR skills, and do it. And read books, obviously. So full development. Yeah, obviously it was hard to manage a team and project, like a team with people who you knew, but you never worked with them in a small environment. We needed the structure, processes, and methods to produce the game, and we need to build the trust in each other's skill. Then also we needed a clear hierarchy and ownership, and we had to deal with this. Each one had his responsibility and had to deal with it in a proper way. We had one obstacle where one of our members had a serious health issue. It was really scary, like it was scary, and but miracles happen thanks to modern medicine and science, obviously. So, but it was really like from the whole development, like that was the worst moment where when you are afraid of your year-long friend and at the same time a friend of your existence, like it's not a good feeling, but obviously he had the worst situation of all of us, but everything went great and he's healthy. Yeah, what we succeeded, we were going to events, we released the game, obviously, despite Unity. We made it in Unity, so it was a challenge, but now we own it pretty much. And we had experienced new team members, two founders. It was me and Matej, and two new my friends from the former company joined us, and one of them like moved from Czech Republic back to Slovakia because of us. We had the financial security. We had the habit to design work rules, processes, methods, and we had self-made tools. And final quality of the game was a success. And we had a good image as a company based on multiple things, but I will get to that later maybe. We failed in still having no PR manager, and I was wrong in expecting the equal work intensity amongst team members. I'm a person, I can work like 12 hours a day, every day a week, and that's basically wrong to expect the same work intensity from different people, even co-founders, and like working for an artist for 8 hours a day is not the same as for a programmer to work eight hours a day. Artists have it easier, right? So let's be frank, it's easier to do art than to program and concentrate and really focus, and like effectively you can work at 1.5 hours a day as deep work, as I've read. So yeah, and we also prolonged the development and had a bullet spongy boss fight. How are we on time? What's the time? Okay, so lessons, you have to use an existing engine. Don't program your own engine. Like, it's really like a wrong decision. Learn to use the engine before you start, and make sure you plan with the reserves. Like the real time that you need is the planned time times 1.5. That's what I found out. Know your tools and also skills. Design methods and processes collectively, like with people who will do those processes and methods. Design it with them and talk how they think it would be most effective to work on something. Then team source ideas and do opponency of them, because sometimes you might have an idea about something, and then when it's done, you present it to people and they have some great ideas that you are already unable to implement. So always try to talk at least once a week with the team and confront your own work with their ideas. And test your games yourself properly first, obviously, and do focus testing and make sure the game runs efficiently right from the start. Like, don't do like, okay, our game runs 10 frames per second, but yeah, it's just, we are in the beginning of development, so yeah, fuck it. So that's wrong. And also, of course, lesson, get a PR guy and get a team of people you know. Make sure everyone is okay with the hierarchy and the ROEs, like rules of engagement, and provide proper work environment, be flexible but fair. Make sure to do due diligence when deciding on stuff. Don't do uninformed decisions, like don't project some kind of idea about something that you have no idea about, and take care of yourself and others. It's really important. Like really, no one wants to be in a team where people don't talk together, are not respecting each other, and where there is no love. Okay, so yeah, we can probably skip this, but there's knowledge, you can use it, talks, books, rely on yourself basically first, but people are lazy. Own your shit, like don't try to hide your mistakes, learn from them and lead by example if you are the leader, and lose your ego. It's really important. So PR marketing, obstacles, obviously talking to people, it's not great. What we succeeded in was reaching a reaction and a retweet from Notch when he wasn't a dick yet. Then mentions on RPS, Rock Paper Shotgun, Destructoid, Co-optional Podcast, Felicia Day, she's a streamer and an actor who had a playthrough on her Twitch account. Koch Carnage played through the game, and we had a publisher for the console releases in the end. What if Felid? Still no PR manager. We there was like, it was impossible to judge on the performance of a hired PR company. There was a YouTuber incident. He broke the embargo. I had to handle it. The PR agency was unable to do that. Lesson: get a PR guy, or hire someone to make some noise for you. Watch your target audience during the dev process and visit streams of similar games. You can mention your game on the stream, and the streamer might show interest, and you will send him a key, and then you have it. Make a list of streamers, YouTubers. Be as genuine and transparent about what's happening with when you do something wrong, and try to solve it, and don't be a dick. It's a good rule in general. Post-launch, I will try to maybe skip because there's some juicy stuff in the end. Basically, we were trying to be a good developer and solve bugs and put new stuff in the game after launch, because we thought that we can boost the sales. That's a wrong assumption. Move to another game, like fix the really bad bugs, but when the game is not selling, then you should really go and do the next thing, because you're not a big company, you don't have a pillow budget, or so to say, so you should work on your next game. And port your game yourself, like that is really important. Porting, I'll skip that. Port your own game, basically, and make good contracts. Okay, so it's really good contracts, make good friends, and basically we had a company who really did a shitty job on the port, and when I confronted them with it, like the port is in a horrible state, it cost us a lot of money, etc., etc. Like, what are you guys what do you want to do with it? And I got a response like, yeah, but what kind of a port did you expect for so less money, like so few money? I was like, yeah, but you should communicate it in like prior to getting into a contract that you will provide a 10 frames per second port. So basically then we ported it ourselves, and we never will work with that company anymore, and I would suggest no one would. Yeah, I will skip probably the second game. It's similar. It has a female character. It's like the story is much bigger. And we basically brought in the RPG system. We brought in new synergies, and we separated the easier puzzles in the story from the harder puzzles in a separate part of the tower where the game takes place. And what have we done differently? We had obviously a complete team from the beginning. We had no need to use many externals, and we had clear division of work, production pipeline, and organization, because we basically had the experience from the first game. We ported the second game ourselves with much better results in performance right away, and we own the dev kits to port our games in the future ourselves. And obviously there was the pandemic situation, so there was some challenges of working from home, but it was not that really bad as we expected. And PR marketing, we followed the market. Our idea was about the market was like closer to reality, at least we hope. And we had for a time we had a PR guy, but he didn't have much experience, and he needed a lot of leadership and a lot of stuff that he needed to learn, and in the end we had to let him go. So always hire someone who's really experienced in the stuff. I know some studios they have smaller budgets, but sometimes it's enough to hire the person for just a couple of weeks or a couple of months, or have an agreement with him that he doesn't basically, or they don't work full time, that they just help out for some fee. Yeah, so the pitching process of the third game. So the first round of the pitching process, we had a pitch deck presentation, like I call it ammunition, right? It's like the assets that you use. One pager, then we had a good thing that we had an intriguing main character and the story behind the character. And we had the basic features information in the pitch, and some simple USPs in the description. And we had some concept art, but the best thing was we had an animated video mock-up of the first person gameplay, because it's a first-person shooter. And there was some significant response to the video from the publishers, and we got requests to see a playable build. The animated GIFs don't work because it's like a PDF, so sorry. But basically, we for the second round, that was like maybe 6 months later after the first one, we had a playable prototype build. We had a new iteration of the pitch deck, and the response was completely different. Right away, the publisher started basically reacting on the gameplay, and they got the idea better than in the first round. So what I would suggest, you should always think that the playable version of your game or an idea is always more valuable than any kind of great art or presentation that you will give, or some sales projections, or I don't know. Always have something playable. Without that, don't even start pitching the game, because if the publisher is excited and then you don't have a playable version, then basically you lost the sale, so to say. You lose their attention until they have something playable in hands. They also wanted to see budgeting then, but there were responses like, there are not enough, not flashy enough USPs. They loved it, but the game was too big. So some smaller publishers, they saw really big potential, but they didn't have budgets that big. So always think about the publisher that are you talking to, about what scope of games they are in, and if it's really effective to pitch the game to them. Then also some publishers said that that we are asking for a lot of money, that the development will be too expensive for the scope or the fidelity of the game. So that was just one publisher, and I don't know, like we tried to do some reflection on that, but we didn't really get the response for anyone else. So I don't know, but or they wanted the game, but they gave us some hostile terms, right? So they said that they really would like to own the IP, and that they would really like to just have like a changing the ratio of the revenue, like that in the beginning, like everything will go to them until they recoup, and basically wouldn't have the tools to see in what stage the sales are. And yeah, so we skipped on that. And but we had some feedback like, guys, this looks good, you should work on that a little more, and we'll have a look like in 6 months. And then we had the third round that we are probably right now in, and now we have a vertical slice, and we have another iteration of the pitch deck, and we completely reworked and added some new USPs. We also have an animated comic in the gameplay teaser video that displays how the story will be told during the game between episodes. And we have really flashy gameplay and showcase GIFs that I actually can't show you, because I was advised by a publisher that we're talking to right now that we shouldn't really show too much, because they like the project and we are in talks with them. So this is the most that I can show you. And we also added more quality illustration and concept art. So the result is like, we love it, but it has much more potential than you are pitching. And what would you do with the game if it had a huge budget? So right now we're in a state where we are again reiterating the pitch, and yeah, so maybe the game will be bigger. We try to scale it up, but not much more, because we have a philosophy that we really want to have control of the games that we are working on, and we don't really want to use too many externals, like people who are not in our surrounding or are in our like a different time zone. But on the contrary, we we got a mapper from the United States who is who's from the Quake community of mappers, and he's doing maps for most of the boomer shooters and FPSs that are coming out now, and he really likes the concept, and he joined our team, and he basically also is helping with the pitching process. and putting the foot in the door for the publishers. That's really important. You really have to be tenacious. For example, today I finished. There was a publisher had a talk, and after the talk, I just jumped on him and just pitched the game to him. And this is the situation that you have to do. If you have a good concept, then think about an elevator pitch. It's like imagine you have just like two sentences that you can say about the game before the person loses interest, and then also have like some animated GIFs ready, videos, art, anything that you think that would be like flashy enough to intrigue someone. Yeah, so we have still some time? Okay, so I can show you probably the video of our second game. Okay.
My former professor, Laura Reich, chose me to join her team in the next big project of the Supreme Bureau, the ARC's Vaporum. I was given the opportunity to experiment with that bewildering and dangerous substance of seemingly limitless potential. I was so engulfed in research, so blind and oblivious to what was going on around me. I didn't see it, and maybe I didn't really want to see it, as the whole tower slowly descended into chaos, until that dark day when it turned against us. I quickly adopted a phrase from a distant past that had been resonating in me the whole time. The experiment has failed. Progress above all.
That was the main boss in the game, so a little spoiler. But yeah, so also this game was really well received. We actually
Let me please introduce our distinguished speaker for today. Please join me in welcoming Elon Musk.
Hey, I don't think I need to introduce myself, but if you don't know me, I'm...
These Elon Musk ads, they're quite annoying. Actually, the big bad guy in our next game is called Kieron Husk. So there's a joke in there, but I will try not to spoil it. Yeah, so probably we can move to the questions. Where's the full screen button? Or double click or something, or... I don't use Acrobat Reader. Yeah, doesn't matter. Here? Is it this one? Okay. Whatever. Okay. So, do we have some more time, or the questions, or... If we don't have questions, I can come back to the previous slides, but hopefully. Yeah. Oh, that depends if we get a publisher. The thing is that like we have a lot of stuff already done, right? So we are in a vertical slice state where we have like 99% of the features done of the gameplay. We have some backend stuff that we want to do for the game, but for that we need like another programmer. We need another environment artist, etc. We also will need like a project manager, maybe a producer if we have a publisher. So it depends. if we are not successful in finding a publisher, then we will do our own launch, probably with one episode of the game with some smaller cost, or it will be cheaper, not the full price. And yeah, I don't know, maybe next year would be something to look for if we don't get a publisher. That probably would be better for us to release something at least, but we'll still hope to get a publisher, because we believe that it will be beneficial to the overall final game. Thanks. How many programmers are here actually? Is there? Okay. How many designers? Okay, and artists? Okay. So only one programmer. Doesn't matter. So I just wanted to ask, because of what I should talk about more. I would say that for our team it would be really useful to have someone to manage the project full time and still do something else. From my idea about it is that we probably should have a PR person and the project manager in one in the team. That would be effective. But yeah. Any questions? Everyone's shy always. When you get to a conference, maybe in the US or Germany, everyone's giving questions. And I understand it, because I never ask when I'm in the audience. So I'm not judging. Yeah. I have skipped a couple of those slides, probably post-launch, about the PR. Yeah, we had the situation with Richard and Otto, the investors in our company. 1 year before we founded the company, I was walking outside in a park, and I met a friend of mine from high school. And we were talking what we do, and I said that I'm starting a company. I would like to find an investor for a game, etc. And then like 6 months later, I was really sick, and I basically had fever, and this guy called me and asked me I have some friends who own a software house, and they would really like to pivot into video games or invest in a team and co-found a team of game developers, and can they call you? And I was really, I had high fever, so I didn't really respond properly, but said yeah, give them my number, and I went back sleeping. And the next day the guy called me, and I told him who we are, what we are making, and he actually knew the game. So because we had some coverage in the Slovak game media, and yeah, so right away I put on the blanket, and shivering with fever, I went behind the computer and sent him all the documentation that I had ready. That's why it's really good to have the documentation ready, because you never know what situation you will be in when you have the opportunity. I sent it to him, and the next day they said okay, we like it and let's talk. And then after one meeting they asked us, we showed them the budget, and they asked us, oh yeah, okay, so what splits do you imagine that you would like to have in a company? Me and Matej, we thought let's start in a really good position for us, and we told them the percentage, and they're yeah, okay. So there was no negotiation about this, and also great thing was that actually we doubled the budget later. So we negotiated on a budget in the beginning, and then in the end it was double, and they had no problem with it. They basically kept the company because they didn't really want to invest only in a project. They wanted to invest in a company and to really be building something. And I think that that was the biggest luck that we had during development, because with the bad launches and not really that great revenue from the two games, they are still with us, and they keep us healthy, and yeah, but we need to work some more and finish the game that we are working on now, because we think that it has much more potential, which we can see also from the publishers. And one more thing, if you still, maybe you have a team and you're working on a game and you still don't want a publisher, like you're stubborn and you won't do your game yourself, also talk to publishers, because you can get some response from them, and if the game interests them, then you may be onto something, right? So you don't have to go to bed with them, but you basically can understand like what's the worth of your project from the interest that you have. Yeah.
Your founders to start the company in the beginning who like were able to cover those expenses, or you found some publisher who could help you with that? Like from the financial point of view, was it hard to maintain the project?
Yeah, so it was not hard, because the investors were like also a little naive, I would say, and they had like really a lot of trust in the project, but they themselves they did their due diligence about the investment, and yeah, it was a strain on them, but I don't know how much how many assets they have, right? So I cannot judge if it was hard for them. For us, it wasn't hard, because we had like a monthly salary, right? And yeah, but yeah, it was luck. It was really lucky that we found guys who, they actually, a funny story. The guy, Richard, that I talked to on the phone, and who actually then called me that they want to talk, he's my neighbor. He lived 2 houses away from me on my street, and actually I live in just like an urban area here in Bratislava, in Petržalka, and I was a little skeptic about like, how can a guy who lives in an area like I do have enough assets to fund like a big project like this, like privately funded, right? And yeah, it's just that you would have to meet them. They are Richard and Otto, 2 great guys who are really enthusiastic about games. They always dreamed to have a game company. They own a software house, because they in university started doing some enterprise software as side jobs, and it worked for them. So yeah, so we're pretty lucky in this. Without them, it wouldn't really happen, because we talked to different companies and different investors, and everyone was just like a shark, right? So they were like, okay, maybe if I can make this amount of money from this, and I will push the guys to give me the IP afterwards. And so it was quite shady with some of them, but these guys were completely transparent and friendly, and yeah, everything works.
Okay, so if there is no more questions, let's thank our wonderful speaker for this lesson with loud applauses.
Thank you.